Financial accounting, learn it faster. The question here is, how can we learn financial accounting more quickly? How can we get the concepts down more quickly? How can we understand and know what will happen with certain types of financial transactions? What will it look like to the financial statements, to the income statement, to the balance sheet, to the statement of equity, to net income when we make a financial transaction? The best way to understand these concepts is not through passively seeing the concept or seeing them in a paragraph. It's through actually working through problems. This, of course, has been known for a long time, and most good accounting programs will go through a process of working through problems, working through problem after problem after problem, having learners go through those problems and work through those problems as well. The things that have changed over time, of course, is the technology that we can apply to the problems, and there has been a lot of confusion over what's going to be the best format to work through different types of problems. All kind of schools these days are moving from paper and pencil in some format typically to a database type program. And basically accounting is one of those types of areas that's getting swept up and just everything goes into the database type of program. Note that there's pros and cons to that. A database type of program is similar to accounting software in that things kind of magically happen. We enter data, and then the data kind of magically generates some other place. That can be useful for many things like multiple choice questions and short calculation questions. That is a useful tool to have. But many times for the accounting process to actually work through the entering of data into the system, the paper and pencil sometimes is better than the database program. And you might say, how can that be? Because we're going to be working with a database program at the end of the process. That's what QuickBooks in essence is. But note, what you need to know is it's kind of like knowing programming. You need to know what the system's doing. That's what we're learning in financial accounting, so that when you go to the database program, you can basically help to make the database program or make the accounting system or troubleshoot problems that are within it. Those are going to be the highest paid or the most value added type of activities. We want to know what the building blocks are of the accounting program. The database programs within schools often don't do that enough. Basically, they don't show the building blocks as you might see with a paper and pencil. The problem with the paper and pencil, however, of course, is that you're limited by the amount of space that you can write with a paper or pencil. You're limited by your handwriting. Many older accountants have really good handwriting. Many younger accountants don't because they're going to be dependent on the computer. And frankly, now everything's going to be on the computer. So the value of good handwriting, just in terms of writing out the information, is not what it once was. It was once valued to have just really good handwriting. It still may be in many places, but if you're going to be working in Excel and whatnot, then the value of the handwriting is not quite as good, and you want speed and you want to be able to see things in a transparent format. A database program, whether it be one provided through a school system or one outside it, is not as transparent. The ones that are going into the school system are usually a database program that they're trying to put everything into the database program. They're not designed, in other words, specifically for accounting. Oftentimes, they're basically putting all information. It's the new thing that's going to solve all the problems, right? We're going to put everything into this kind of database program, and we'll have a similar format for all type of curriculums. But of course, all type of curriculums are different. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to figure that out. So at some point that it'll get better. But no, they haven't found anything that's better, in my opinion, than Excel. So Excel or Google Sheets or just some type of spreadsheet type of program. And the reason is because you can easily work a larger type of problem in Excel, and you can see the connections within it. And so Excel, of course, is very confusing. When you first learn it, it's intimidating to learn Excel, but it's also something that's going to be necessary on the job. It's really worth doing. And note that as you learn financial accounting in Excel, you're not using all the tools in it. All you're really doing is setting up tables just as you would with a paper and pencil. You're trying to think, how do I set up the table? And that's one thing you just got to start to visualize with accounting by just repetition, working the same problem over and over. And the other is just plus and minus type of format. And so those are two things that you're going to do in Excel. Excel does countless other things. It does an incredibly large number of things, but most of what we do in accounting is make tables and then add and subtract. That's what we're going to basically be using it for. So I highly recommend using Excel to do that. You want to keep working problems in Excel, and you want to be able to set up problems in Excel as you might do with a paper and pencil format, meaning you want to set up the structure of the table that you would basically write a grid out in a paper to pencil format so that you can then work problems if you have to work problems in a paper pencil format. But you want to see them in Excel because that'll make it a little bit easier to format things. And you also want to work larger problems in Excel. So every time you can, make sure you do a problem as much as possible that has a trial balance in it, because the trial balance is going to allow you to see the big picture. It's going to allow something to be in balance. And by having something that's in balance, that's going to give you a better idea of what's going on with every type of transaction. So working larger problems within Excel where you're not just seeing one journal entry, but posting that journal entry to, say, a general ledger and making a trial balance, much, much, much better to do. So that's what I would recommend doing if you're taking an accounting program. Just note that a couple things are going to happen. One, probably way too much material in any individual class, more than anybody can basically take in any class. So every time you leave the class, you're still going to be wanting to consume more information about that base material, which is going to be necessary throughout the whole process, because it's kind of like learning addition before going forward and applying it to different areas. So one thing is way too much information will be crammed in one area. The other thing is either you'll be using probably paper and pencil, or you'll be using a kind of database program that's kind of shoehorned or kind of fit to work in all different areas, not quite perfected for specific areas such as accounting, and it's nowhere near as good as if you could use something like Excel. Why don't they use Excel, you might ask? Why doesn't all schools use it? Note the limitation in grading Excel. If I was to make a problem where you have to put information into Excel, you've got to turn that in and I've got to grade it, or I've got to give an answer key to something so that you can see the answer, but not copy the worksheet so everybody can copy the same worksheet and turn it all in at the same time. The grading of Excel is not easy to do. It's a lot easier to grade a multiple choice question. It's a lot easier to grade a short calculation, a short answer type of question. And it's a lot easier to grade something that's put into a database. They can figure out ways to set the grading, which totally is not perfect either. A lot of problems there still, but you have some more flexibility. But if your goal is not for the grading, of course, your goal is to supplement your information to learn, then Excel is the tool you really want to apply, because that's the one you're going to see in practice, and it's the one that really does the best job of actually learning the information. And if you take the grading component out of it, and the cheating component and copying the Excel worksheet for different people and that kind of thing out of the equation, I think schools would default to it for sure. So given that, you really want, if you want to supplement your information and learn things well, use Excel. And we, of course, do have a course in Excel. Many of our courses that are financial accounting will have Excel worksheets, pre-formatted Excel worksheets, typically having an answer tab, and then a tab that has a pre-formatted worksheet that you can put the information into. We'll have a discount below for at least this or one of the courses that you can use to apply to it. And here's one of the courses. And again, one of the main values you get from the course is basically the Excel worksheets, to work through the pre-formatted Excel worksheets and work through those in a step-by-step format, and then have a practice where you can start to set up your own Excel worksheets and work through those with the instructional videos. Now, if you scroll down, a lot of the course will be a free version towards the beginning, so you could sign in, no credit card, no payment, for part of the course. That's basically a mini course that you kind of have for free, and then you can continue on with the added information. One of the main tools, again, that you get in the course, which is in the paid version, is basically to actually download the Excel sheets and then use those to work through the problems, because that's what you want to keep doing, which is keep working through the same worksheets over and over and over again.